One of the questions I get a lot is if you can use your native language to learn a target language, or is that cheating, or is it a waste of time, or do you have to completely immerse yourself in the target language, or else it's just not good enough, or all sorts of stuff. So in this video, I'm going to break down every single thing that you need to know about using your native language to learn a foreign language. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jamie. I'm a language coach, and my job is helping online language learners stick to their language learning long term by helping them find the best strategies and resources that work for them. So if that sounds good to you, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video every Wednesday. First, we're going to talk about watching TV and movies and media like that and videos online. Should you use subtitles? And if you do use subtitles, which subtitles should you use? And if you don't, why and what can you expect? Let's answer all that. And we're going to assume, for the purposes of this video, that our native language is English. First of all, no, using English subtitles in a foreign language piece of media is not cheating. In fact, it is totally fine in the beginning, especially if you're watching something that you enjoy, but you have no idea what's going on and you kind of just want to enjoy the culture, maybe the sound of the language, maybe pick up a few words here and there because it's way beyond your comprehension level. There's no reason for you to torture yourself by watching something that you theoretically want to watch, but you're so frustrated because you can't understand anything that it ruins the experience. Now, of course, if you are at beginner levels, but you still don't want to use English subtitles, totally cool, whatever works for you, then I would definitely recommend either like chopping up the video and watching only a few minutes at a time, slowing it down, finding more like for children with simple language, videos like that. But if not, my big rule of thumb is to just kind of wean yourself off the English subtitles. As you get more advanced and more comfortable and you start to understand these things a little bit more, you should really be pushing yourself and challenging yourself to a reasonable degree. It's up to you what that means, but you should definitely be encouraging yourself to not rely on English subtitles and focus more and more on the target language subtitles. A good way to do this, for example, is if you are watching a show, you have no idea what's going on, but you're still enjoying it, put up bilingual subtitles. So this means subtitles in both English and the target language. So you have them side by side and you can get a general feel for, maybe picking up a few words, grammatical structures, how sentences work, maybe some fun little two-word phrases here and there. Things like that. It might not seem like a lot, but if you do that consistently, it can really build up your vocabulary in a really engaging, interesting, valuable way. And then as you get more and more advanced and you start being able to understand what you're hearing, you can understand more what you're reading, go ahead and get rid of the English subtitles and stick to just the target language subtitles while watching that show or movie. And then if you really want to challenge, eventually get rid of the subtitles completely and see how well you can understand what you're watching. Obviously, that one is totally up to you. I really like using subtitles personally. I use English subtitles for like English language media when I'm not trying to learn anything, so everybody's different. But yeah, definitely there's nothing wrong with using subtitles that are comfortable for you. The second topic is conversations. How do you appropriately use your native language when learning a foreign language in a conversation? So this could mean, especially when you're starting out, of course, having a conversation but you just can't think of the word in the target language, or you can't think of the way to express a certain thing in the foreign language. It could look like a lot of different things. How much is okay to use English? As a beginner especially, sticking to the foreign language is really, really, really difficult. You're really training your brain to do something completely different that it's never done before. And you're allowed to acknowledge that. You're allowed to acknowledge that it's way more difficult than you expected it to be and back up a little bit. Because you start realizing that having a conversation in a foreign language isn't about just taking English and then swapping out the individual words. It's about completely different reconstructions of sentences, and it's a whole thing. And it can be a lot if you don't realize that. So as a general rule, I recommend avoiding English as much as possible, but whatever your comfort level is, whatever your skill level is, whatever any individual situation looks like, completely subjective and you do what you gotta do. As long as you are not avoiding the work of learning how to express yourself in the language by just switching back to English whenever it gets difficult. You gotta get through that really difficult, kind of painful part before you get to the part where you are having free-flowing conversations and you're totally confident and you're able to communicate really easily in the foreign language. So I do recommend avoiding English as much as possible. If it's really hard to do that, try and shorten your conversations. Make sure that you're sticking to really simple topics that you know the vocabulary to. You know, for example, if you're learning Spanish, make sure you're not going into the past tense or into conditional statements or things like that. Make sure you're sticking to present tense conversations, and then trust that eventually it won't be as difficult as it feels right now. It sucks at first, but if you push through it, eventually it doesn't suck anymore. Next up is reading. How much should you avoid translating when you're reading in a new language? Now, the answer to this can depend on your intention behind reading, but assuming that you're reading for the purpose of enjoying and to, you know, getting engaged in a story and reading books for fun, then I really recommend Ollie Richards' approach. If you buy any of Ollie Richards' books, in the table of contents or like the introduction or whatever, he has a whole 6-step process basically saying that it's okay if you don't understand each individual word. If you are trying to understand the concept, the plot, storyline, situation, whatever it is, it's okay to read through it a couple of times and understand more and more as you go. You know, learn new vocabulary through context, so avoiding looking it up if you don't have to. If you can figure it out by understanding the plot of the storyline, that's great. And if you've gone through it a few times and you still don't know what a word is, especially if it's an important word to the plot, go ahead and look it up. There's also a touch of feel free to skip certain sentences, skip certain passages if they're like completely over your head, and focus on the plot, focus on what's going on, the storyline. And as you give it a couple of reads, then these sentences and phrases and passages may start to make more sense without you having to look up specific grammatical conjugations or whatever. He does explain it very well, so if you want to read specifically and you're not sure about how much to translate or whatever it is, I highly recommend picking up one of his books if they're available in your language and using that approach. How much do you like to use your native language when you're studying a new language? Let me know in the comment section below. Number 4 is thinking. How much should we be thinking in the target language? How much should we be thinking in our native language? I've got some bad news for you. You should be trying to think from day one. There's not really, that's the best way to go about it, honestly. It's not that perfect, it's not that easy. But that's one of the things that you can be doing to train your brain and create those pathways in your brain. It can absolutely suck, especially at first, but the only other option is to learn the language by translating, which is only really beneficial to you if you are trying to be a translator. If your intention behind learning the language is to translate the language, unless that is your intention, which is totally fine, I would recommend avoiding that and instead working on just functioning through the language. That one's pretty simple. Yeah, it's pretty much you gotta do what you gotta do kind of thing. Because that one was so simple, I'm gonna throw in a bonus tip for you. What if you've learned a foreign language in the past and you want to continue to maintain that language while also learning a third or a fourth or a fifth or whatever number of languages you're on? An easy way to go about this is through laddering. The basic idea behind laddering is instead of learning a new language through your native language, you learn the new language through a non-native language that you are at an advanced level in. I mean, the idea is basically if you were to go to college abroad in a different country and the entire college operates in the target language and you will be learning your entire major, all your classes through that target language, That's basically what it is. So if you're originally from Brazil, for example, and you speak Portuguese natively, and then
you move to the US and you learn English to a proficient, basically fluent level, and then you go abroad to Germany, I don't know. It's like a German.
I'm going too far in this. It's a really convenient, really efficient way to maintain a more advanced language while learning a new language and feeling less cheaty, feeling less like you're cheating in your target language. Do be aware though that you need to have a intermediate, at least advanced intermediate level in the second language in order to use it to learn your third language, because if you have to spend a lot of time understanding the instructions or whatever it is that is in the second language, then it's really going to hold your third language back. It's going to cause you a lot of stress, and it's going to do more harm than good. So basically, don't try and ladder with a beginner language. That's not what this is about. Now that you know how to use your native language to learn a foreign language, where do you go from here? How do you know if you should be watching movies? How do you know if you should be having conversations? How do you know if you should be reading? If you're asking yourself these questions, I highly recommend you click the link below in the description to learn more about my 90-day coaching program called The Method. My clients learn exactly which strategies they need to apply to their language learning to get the results they need, and so they can stop wasting time asking themselves all these questions. Click the link below in the description to learn more. And if you like this video, make sure to check out these videos next. Otherwise, have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Actually, I should do that.